Today I'm going to draft the easy fitting trouser block, and my reason for doing it is that I've been asked to make a pair of dungarees for someone, and I need to start with a trouser block to then make the bottom half of the dungarees, and then I can show you how to extend that to create the top half of the dungarees. I'm using Winifred Aldrich's sixth edition metric pattern cutting for women's wear. And I'm on page 166-67, and I'm using the easy fitting trouser block. This does appear in another edition I've got, which I think is the 3rd edition, but it's the same principle basically. So to create the block or the pattern, you need a set of measurements. So you need waist to hip, body rise, waist to floor, and the trouser bottom width. You can, it says at the top here, you can make it so that it's extra small, small, medium or large, etc. I'm making these for a specific person, but all the only measurements I have for her that correlate to this are her waist and her hip measurement. So I'm going to refer to the standard body measurements on page 11, and I've worked out that she is approximately a size 12, so I'm using the additional measurements from the size 12 chart. Okay, so now I've got the measurements, I can then start drafting the block. And when you start drafting, pattern drafting, always a good idea to look at the thing that you're about to draft and think about how you're going to lay that on the piece of paper. And it always starts with 0 to 1, so I always look on the pattern block to see where 0 is, and 0 is actually at the top of this centre line through the trousers here, so it's just there. And when you draft trousers, you don't draft them like this in this direction to you when you're stood at the table. You actually draft them like that. Okay, so I've got to think about how far I want 0 to be from the side of my paper. I don't want it too far over that I need to stretch too far to reach it, so I'm going to probably place it around here somewhere, and then we'll work down the length of the paper like that. Okay, so let's get started. So the equipment I'm using is my ruler, pattern master, and a mechanical pencil. I will probably also need a calculator, but I'll come to that when I need one. Okay, so, and I've got pattern paper as well, obviously, but you can do it if you've got any wide paper that you can draft a pair of trousers on. It's fine. Yeah, you can do it on, I guess, on newspaper or old newsprint and things, but I always buy actual pattern paper just because it's easier. You know that it's going to work. You know that there's not any issues with the actual paper itself. So my first instruction is 0 to 1, and it's 0 to 1 is the body rise plus 1 centimetre and then square across. Okay, now I'm looking at that and I know that that line is going to go longer, so I'm just going to be confident and brave, and I'm just going to draw a line here, and at the top of it I'm going to mark 0. And then I'm going to look at the measurements that I've got, and her body rise is 28.7, and I needed to add on a centimetre, so that would be 29.7. So I mark there, and that is number 1. And then I'm going to square across, and I'm going to use my pattern masters to square across, because then I know that it is actually going to be square to that line. Okay, so I'm using this centre line of my pattern master to line up with that, so I can then square across like that. Okay, the next instruction is 0 to 2 is waist to hip. So 0 to 2, so I'm just going to look at 0 and 2. Okay, so it's still on that centre line. So 0 to 2 is waist to hip, which is 20.9. So as I've got this here, I'm just going to do 20.9, which is there, and that is number 2. And it also tells me to square across. Next instruction, waist to floor measurement. So that's 0 to 3, so it's still this line. 0 to 3 is waist to floor measurement and then square across. So this is going to disappear off your screen basically. So I'm going to go back to using my ruler, and my waist to floor is 105 centimetres. So it's longer than my ruler is as well. So I'm just going to go to 100. So I've extended that line, and then I'm going to add on. Going to extend it further than I need, and then add on the 5 centimetres, and then squaring across. Okay, so you'll have to believe me that that's what I've done up the other end if you couldn't see it. Okay, so 1 to 4 is half the measurement of 1 to 3 minus 5 centimetres and then square across. So that's this line here. So we've just drawn, I've done 0 to 1, 0 to 2, 0 to 3, and then 1 to 4. So 1 to 4 along that line is half of this measurement minus 5 centimetres. Okay, so I'm going to just measure that, and that's 75.5. So I'm just going to use a calculator to get it right. So 75.5 divided by 2 is 37.75, and then I'm going to minus, just check that it's minus, yes, minus 5 centimetres, so it's 32.75. So that's from 1 to 4, so going down the leg this way, so it's 32.75. So there, so that's 4, and then I'm going to square across. Okay, let me just get that out of the way for the minute. So that's my knee line at 4. So next step is 1 to 5. So 1 to 5, and I'm having a look to see where 5 is on here, which is there. So 1 to 5 is 1/12 of the hip measurement plus 1.8 centimetres. So let's do that first bit first. So the 1/12 of the hip measurement, I've got a hip measurement of 98 divided by 12 is 8.16. So let's just check that. 98 divided by 12 is 8.16 recurring, and then the instruction was plus 1.8, so plus 1.8, that gives me 9.96. Okay, so along this line that comes out of 1, I'm going to measure across 9.96. Okay, and that is 5. Okay, so next step, 6 to 8. Oh, sorry, hang on. Then I've got to square up from there. I was going to say, where have 6 and 8 come from? So then I square up from 5. Like that. And 6 is here. 7 is on the top line, so I'm going to just square across from 0 as well. There we go. So 7 is there. Okay, so 6 to 8. So 6 to 8 is coming back on myself to create the width of the hip. And 6 to 8 is 1/4 of the hip measurement plus 1 centimetre. So the hip measurement was 98, divided by 4, and then plus 1 is 25.5. So 20. So I'm using 20 and then 5.5. Okay, and that is number 8. I'm just going to mark that for the moment. I don't need to square it in any direction. And then 5 to 9 is, so 5 to 9 is going the other way and is creating the crotch area here. So 5 to 9 is 1/16 of the hip measurement. So 98 divided by 16 is 6.125. And then we're adding 1 centimetre, so that's 7.125. So it's just over, what, 7.1. So I'm just going to extend that line, and we're just going to put 7.1 there. Okay, and that is number 9. And then 7 to 10, so 7 is here, and 10 is 1 centimetre this way. So that's 10. I'm going to join 10 to 6, and then 6 to 9, and I'm going to create a curve here. So it gives me, see, there's coming from 5, there's an arrow, and basically that means that should be approximately, if I'm doing a 6 to 14 or an extra small, medium size, it would be approximately 3.5, and if it's larger than that, it would 3.75 centimetres. So again, using my pattern master, I'm just going to measure across. So I'm going to line that up. How am I going to do this? Let's see what's the easiest way of doing it. I know how I can do it, but it's just getting it to... Right, so what we're going to do is use this line here. So you can see that's at a right angle on that cross line there, and I'm going to come across and I'm going to use this system here. So 1, 2, 3.5. So I'm going to get it so that that line is there, and then I know that that is where my curve needs to hit. Okay, and another way of doing it is to find another line here. That means you can come across. It's a bit trickier because you've got to find something that's going to be in line with that line. Okay, so I'm going to leave it with that, and then I'm going to use the curve on here, and I'm just lining it to hit the 9 through that line and to the 6, and then 6 is going to join to 10 like that. Okay, so that's my front line. It's a little bit higher than 3.5, but to be honest, I don't think it matters that much. I could, when I come to finesse it a bit more, maybe we do that. There we go. But if you're not confident in doing freehand curves, then use the curves on the Pattern Master. Okay. There we go. So we've got our front curve. So that's our front crotch of our front trouser. Okay. And then 10 to 11. So we're just going to finish the waist up here. So 10 to 11 is quarter of the waist plus 5 centimeters. So it's going across this top line. So the waist is 84. I'm going to divide by 4 and then add 5, which gives me 26. So I'm using the 6 here up to that center line, and then 20 on this side, and that is 11. And then 11 can join to 8. Now her waist is a bit bigger than her, well, not bigger than her hips, it's not bigger at all than her hips, but it's just, it's coming up bigger because of the shaping. She's not her weight, the proportion of her waist to her hips is different. So I'm just going to leave it as it is at the moment and just follow that. I'm just going to lightly put in a curve there, but I think we might have to change that. And then what we will do, we'll reduce the amount of ease maybe. So we're just going to put that curve there, and then we go down to the bottom. So we're going to do the width of the trouser. The next step at the hem is 3 is here, and then 3 to 12 comes this way, and it is half the trouser bottom width, which is 22.5. I'm just going to write that there, 22.5. So divide that by 2 is 11.25, and then it's minus 0.5. So that means it's 10.75. So that is 12. And then we're going to do the same on the other side as well. Just jumping this step, and I'll jump back to it in a minute. I think this is 14. And then we're going to join that to 8. But what I'm actually going to do on this one, I'm going to give her a bit more room on the hip because it comes in. So I'm going to join that to 12 to 8. Let's just do that a minute. But if you look, because of the waist distribution, she's actually then bulging back out again. So I'm actually going to move 8 across. And because these are easy fitting trousers, it's just going to give her a bit more room across the bottom, across the hips. So I'm just going to, where that curve hits, I'm just going to take it from the knee. So I'm not running it all the way down, I'm just going from the knee, and I'm just going to come out from 8. I'm just going to use the hip curve because I like this ruler better than the Pattern Master for doing a hip. And just bring that round. And so I've gained on her actual hip, I've gained about 8 millimeters, but that's fine. It's an easy fitting block. It's just going to give her a bit more room there. You just wouldn't cut that weird shape, okay? So we just gained a bit over her hip, but haven't taken it all the way from the hem because you don't want to widen the hem. So I've just come from the knee to smooth that off, okay? This is what happens when you haven't got standard size people, because people aren't that size. She'd probably end up okay if your hip, the hip waist ratio, the waist in theory should be probably around there, which would give a curve that way. She'd probably end up being able to fit in that for the dungarees, but I'd rather err on the side of caution because I don't know her, to make sure she's got enough room. She'd probably go for a size up because it's probably going to be too tight for her if she's just buying them as a off the rail kind of thing. So dealt with that. So the inside leg, this is 13 here, just do that on the knee. And then on the inside leg, I've marked 3 to 14 at the hem, which is half the trouser width minus 0.5, and then 4 to 15 is the measurement of 4 to 13. Okay, so 4 to 13 is this measurement here, and then we're going to match it on that side. So I'm just going to use my pattern master, put the centre line down, check you can see what I'm doing, kind of, move you down there a bit. So it is 13.2 on this side, so I'm just going to keep the ruler in the same place and mark 13.2 over there, and that is 15, yeah, 15, and then that means I can join 14 to 15 like that, and then I expect I'm going to join, yeah, you can join 15 to 9 in a straight line, but because this is your inside leg up the top of the thighs, just going to add, I'm just going to make it a little bit really slight, not any depth to it at all really. If I can, I'll use this side just to create a nice curve. Okay, and that is your front trouser done. That's ready to go. So now we're going to use this to do the back trouser, and common practice, it confuses people, and I can understand why, but you just kind of use this as a guideline, and then over the top we're going to build the back trouser leg. Okay, so on here we've just done this dotted line, which is the front trouser, and then your back trouser, it's wider, it sits further across because you've got a bottom to fit in, and you've got more here because you bottom. Okay, so let's get to work on the back. This instruction for the back is 5 to 16, so we find 5 again. 5 to 16 is quarter the measurement of 1 to 5, so it's quarter of that measurement. Okay, so I'm going to use my pattern master to measure what we had from 1 to 5, and it is 9.9. If you go back, I expect I said 9 point something else, but I'm just going to go with 9.9. So 9.9 divided by 4 is 2.47. Kind of knew that. 2.47. So it's there, and this is 16. Yeah, this is 16. And we're going to square that up to 17 on the hip line and 18 on the waist. So I'm just going to go from there. Like that. So that is 17 and that is 18. Okay, then next step is 16 to 19 is half the measurement, 16 to 18, so it is half of from there to there. So just move this until you get the same amount on this side of this line and same amount on that side. So that is there, and that is 19. And just check I wasn't doing any extra. No, 18 to 20. So 18 is here, 20 is here by 2 centimeters. And then we're going to go up from there. Gosh, I hope you can see this. Yeah, let's just bring it back into the middle a bit more. The problem with doing trousers on screen is that they're long and you can't fit it all on. So hopefully, come down a little bit more like that. Yeah, okay, so, and then we're going to go up 2 centimeters. So that was 20 and that's 21. And then 21 to 22 is quarter of the waist plus 6 centimeters. So waist is 84. Divide that by 4. It's 21. And then we're going to add 6, so it's 27. And what we're going to do is from this point, I'm going to extend this line for a minute, because what we're going to do is we're going to find the 7 on this side so that we've got 20 here and the 7 there. And what we're going to do is move it so that the 20 hits this top line, which is your waistline. So it's going to hit there, and that's 27, and that's number 22. Okay, so that is the top of the back waistline, and it's raised from the actual waistline. So this is your front, because again, you've got a bottom to go over. Your front is usually flatter than your back, so from there to there on your waist is shorter than this bit Okay, so it's just so that rather than the trousers sitting down like that, it will end up sitting pretty well straight again at the back. It's just that you've given it a bit more to get over that shape. Okay, hopefully you can see my squiggle. Yeah. Okay, so we've done the waistline, so 22, so 23 is the next, 9 to 23, so where's 23? Okay, so we're back on the under the crotch area. So 9 to 23 is half the measurement of 5 to 9 plus 1 centimetre. This is what I always forget, the plus 1 centimetre for on this measurement. So this is approximately 7 centimetres. So it'll be 3.5 plus 1 centimetres, so 4.5. Okay, and that is 23. And then 24 is just below 23, so I'm just going to do a little line which is half a centimetre. Is it half a centimetre? No, it's quarter of a centimetre, sorry. Let's just rub that out for a minute. So it is literally just below, so I'm just going to put a little line like that and then square down, and that is 24. Okay, and then, and again, this relates to the fact that this has got a lot further to go than the front curve. So 24, so 23, 24, and then you join 21 to 19, so that's quite easy. We just do that. So that's the top of your back, centre back line. And then the next line is, we're going to join 19 to 24. And a bit like the front curve here, we've got to have it so that it is, what is it going to be? It's going to be 4.5 centimetres from 16. Okay. So what you can do, see if we can get a line. Let's do a line. So we know that that's square from there. This is another way of doing it. So I'm just going to draw a line through like that from 16, and then I'm going to measure along that line 4.75. Now what I did was use this line here to line up with my horizontal line here, and then I've drawn a starter line just so I can see where I'm going here. Actually, it's to there. Okay, and then I'm going to join 24. I'm going to join 24 through that, and then go up to 19. Let's use this. There we go. It's nice line. So, okay. So that is that's from 9 through 6 to 10 is my front crotch. So that's the centre front. And then this 21 through 19 to 24 is my back crotch line. Okay, so 9 to 10 is here, and then 24 around the bottom is down up to 21 is here. Okay, right, so next step, 17 to 25 is quarter hip measurement plus 2 centimetres, so 98 divided by 4 plus 2 is 26.5. So 26.5, which is there. Again, we may have to see what happens. We may have to move that over a little bit. We'll see. Okay, so that's a hip, and then so that was number 12. What did I say that was? That's 25. Okay, and then down on the hem. So 26 is 1 centimetre here, and 27 is 1 centimetre from here, and then we're going to join those two. 26, 27, and then that's going to join to 25, which I think will be all right actually, what we've done over there. And then I'm just going to do this side as well, so it's 1 centimetre here, and I'm just going to check where. So that's 28. and then 29 is 1 centimetre from 15. So we can join those two, and then we're going to join that in a straight line. So we're going to join to 24, 29 to 24 with a straight line for the moment. And then it says to curve the line inwards about 1 centimetre. So I'm going to use my hip curve again. And we're just going to do something like that. Okay, I'm just going to make sure that that comes down in a nice curve, a nice straight line coming down like that. Okay, so I've gained a little bit there, fine with that. Okay, and then I'm just going to come back and look up here, and I'm just going to use the hip curve at its straightest bit really, just to give a nice shape on the outside leg there. Just come back, so we're just gaining not even a centimetre, not even 2 millimetres maximum there. Okay, so that is then my front and my back trouser, easy fitting trouser block, drafted. The only thing I need to do, which means, so the next step from that is then you trace off the front and the back separately. This is your master pattern. You keep that intact because you can go back to it and draft a different pair of trousers from it, or draft shorts, or put design lines and things on it if you want to, but you use this as your basis. Okay, so I'm going to keep this intact and mark it up that it's a pair of easy fitting trousers for a waist of 84 and a hip of 98, because I might be able to use it for something in the future. It's got a note on the page saying ease in the back crotch. So most easy fitting trousers, particularly dungarees, which is what I'm making, require extra ease in the back crotch line. Trace off the back trouser and then cut along the hip line and open a wedge. So I'll show you how to do that in a moment. I'm going to just retrace, and then I'll do that amendment there. Okay, and then we're good to go for the dungarees. Okay, I'm tracing the trouser. I'm just going to keep on the pattern. This is my actual pattern, my finished pattern. I do need to add seam allowance to it, but I'm just going to mark on things like the hip line, but just at the edge, and the crotch line. In theory, I don't need to mark it on that side, but I'm just going to mark it here, and I'm just marking the knee line as well, and I'm keeping that centre line. And the reason I'm keeping the centre line is one, so I know where the centre of the trousers are, but also to know where the straight of grain. And the straight of grain is very important when you're laying the pattern onto the fabric. So that is that note. I know that if I lay that in line with the straight of grain of the fabric, that I will have the fabric. The fabric will be in the right place and it will work properly. Okay, react to the body in the correct manner. So it's just a good idea to keep that centre line on there, so that you can, you know what you're doing, basically. So I'm just tracing the back first. as I said in the previous video, because the dungarees needing a bit more room in the bottom area, we're going to cut through here. I've traced off the back. I'm going to cut through here and open it out. So I'm just going to show you how to do that. So I'm not going to cut the whole piece out, because I know for the next step I'm going to trace it again for the dungarees, or I think I am. I'm not sure. So I don't want to cut it all out and then discover that I didn't need to, basically. But what I am going to do is I'm just going to cut to just below the hip line, and then do the same. So I'll cut across the top and then down the side seam here, and then I'm just going to cut down just beyond the crotch there. Okay, and then from there I'm going to turn it round and I'm going to cut from there to here. Okay, and what that will allow me to do, if you find it easier, cut the whole thing out, but I'm just trying to save myself more work than I need, just in case. So I'm going to cut along here, and what you want to do is not cut all the way across. Okay, so you're just going to leave, let's move that out from underneath now. So what you're going to leave is a tiny bit attached so that you can pivot it. Okay, and what you're going to do, what I'm going to do, you're going to watch. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to chop that bit off here, and I'm going to lay it underneath. And then we need to add on 3 to 3.5 centimeters. So I'm just going to mark. I'm just going to pivot that. I'm not going to mark anything at the moment. I'm just going to pivot it like that. Okay. And what I'm actually going to do is bring the piece of paper underneath over ever so slightly. Okay. And we can use that, because I haven't cut it out, we can use that bit there. Actually, what I'll do is tuck that underneath here. Okay. That's approximately 3.5. Just going to leave a pattern master there and get some masking tape. And I'm going to put a piece of tape there to hold that on. A piece of tape there to hold that there. Okay. And then that's gained me a wedge of 3.5. And now what we need to do is just tidy up, which is, you know, another reason not to cut it out, basically. I'm just going to tie it old now, so it's tearing weirdly. Put that over there. And that over there, just to protect those corners. And then get my pencil, and I'm just going to do it partly by eye, really. If I wasn't talking and showing somebody, I would just draw the line, but I'm coming over about 0.5 centimetre this way, and I'm coming over about 0.5 centimetre this way, and I'm just going to draw a new line. It comes up like that. Okay, and then over on the side seam, I'm just going to, because we've now got a bit of a, you see that bit of a strange shape there, so we're just going to gain a bit, which we'd gained, hadn't we, earlier anyway, so it's fine. You know, I'm not putting anything on the waist. I'm just going to come up like that. And I also work on the basis that I'd rather have too much fabric than too little, because if it's a bit baggy on them, let's see if I've got some better masking tape. If it's a bit baggy on them, it's better than it being too tight. So there we go, and I'm just going to put that over there just to hold all that in place. And that's my new side seam. Okay, and that's my new crotch seam there, going up to nothing. Okay, and that is just creating more, that, you know, the little diagram I did earlier where you had the front body and then you had the bottom, it's just giving, basically it's just giving you a bit more there so that you can just be able to sit down more easily, because dungarees are controlled by what's happening over the shoulders, not just on the waist. You want enough room that you're not going to cut yourself in two when you sit down. So that's why you want to make sure there's enough room in this seam. This bottom line, this line will sit around the centre of your bottom. Okay, so it just needs to give enough room that when you want to sit down and change the shape of your bottom, you'll have enough there. Okay, So hopefully that made sense. Right, so these are now ready that I can do the next step for, because I've got my front and my back ready. I can do the next step to turn them into dungarees.